On my way to Manhattan, then Roosevelt Island, then Manhattan, then the Bronx, then Manhattan, and then finally going back to Staten Island, in that order. And this is actually my third time for 2021 taking the SIM8. And honestly, this, unlike the first two times that I took it, the SIM8, which the first time was the best one because since the fare box was broken, that was probably the only time in my life that the express bus may ever be free. And basically the second time was during the Central Park saga. This third time was not planned, and here's why. That morning, instead of driving all the way from my neighborhood to the Eltonville Transit Center, this time I decided to drive to the Staten Island Mall because I honestly wanted to take the SIM8X, which is a direct service that starts at the mall and basically has one more stop on Staten Island before going to Manhattan. Well, I parked all the way kind of close to TGI Fridays, to be honest, or where TGI Fridays used to be. And not even a minute goes by when I'm stepping out of my car that the very bus that I wanted to take just drove right by me. And then I tried to run as fast as I can to catch that bus, and sadly I couldn't catch it. And you know, there were a few other buses that were coming by that I could have like took, but I chose not to. And basically I ended up taking the SIM8 anyway. Either way, this is why at the time I like to head to the city on Friday mornings to be able to catch as many buses and trains wherever I go. So that way I can just have plenty of time to just come back home in the afternoon. Normally when the commute is not so bad at the beginning of the afternoon. Not, of course, avoiding the evening commute when driving is a little crazier. I ain't gonna lie, for the most part when I've taken the express bus, I'm often on the Gowanus Expressway instead of the New Jersey Turnpike. And one thing I like about taking the express bus on the New Jersey Turnpike is towards the left side on my way to Manhattan, of course. I end up seeing planes taking off and landing from Newark Airport. And that's pretty cool. And it kind of reminded me of some of the suggestions that I gave of potential airline ideas that could potentially turn a profit well if done right, of course. One idea involved using all premium economy seated aircraft, and another basically included a combination of basically not having that many seats on each plane to be able to accommodate for both scheduled and charter flights, where charter flights could be a little bit more affordable. So what on earth is a megabus for airlines? Well, just to be clear, it's not the idea of the megabus company themselves starting an airline. Although now that I think about it, a company like Megaplane wouldn't be that bad. But that's not the point of the video. Megabus has been known for not only having a rather affordable price to go from one location to the next, but also having somewhat of a strategy of basically, instead of having buses be at a terminal like Port Authority or the George Washington Bridge bus terminal, which I plan to go to during the 2022 calendar year, is basically you have buses somewhat at a curbside, like the one Van Hool TD925 that I caught at the Javits Center a few weeks ago. Because they're not at a terminal themselves, that actually cuts down the pricing that would be involved for the passengers. Because without being at a terminal, they would be at a particular location, of course, with the permission of the city and everything, and paying a certain amount of money. Basically, the passengers could just board basically at a curbside or at a mall and then just board the bus from there, and that actually reduces the fare price. So, am I saying that we should just suddenly have a Boeing 737 or Airbus A320 plane just suddenly land on the side of a street and instead of at a regional airport? Of course not. Well, not necessarily those planes, but instead, what if there can be an airline that utilizes VTOLs and instead of being at an airport in particular, they could just be on the roof of, let's say, a parking lot in the middle of Manhattan or anywhere else? Now, I recall seeing a documentary where Airbus attempted to try this at one point, I believe with their pop-up experiment, but it didn't go so well. And I heard that Uber may try to use some VTOL aircrafts on the top of parking lots to be able to just go from one city to another, because the range for now for many VTOLs is not so much of the same range of like I mentioned in a Boeing 737 MAX or Airbus A320neo. But in the long run, let's say for the sake of argument, it has almost the same range or probably even a greater range than that of the furthest known narrow-body airplane, which for right now is the A321 XLR. In a way, there's a potential for this kind of an airline to save money by not going to a traditional airport, but instead being on the roof that have the permission of the cities and other places where they may take off and land from. Now, admittedly, it would be a challenge just for just a fresh startup company to be able to try this venture. Maybe an existing airline may try to see, let's say for the sake of argument, Uber ends up achieving this VTOL mission, and other airlines see that Uber is receiving a decent amount of money. And you could have someone like American, United, Southwest, and others realize that they're earning money and would try this similar venture themselves. And this is, of course, when this initially takes place, because VTOLs exist. I mean, not so much for civilian aircraft, but it's more used for the military for right now. But once this is used for more passenger service, we could see more airlines with VTOLs available. Now, one thing I want to mention, this does not mean that if we end up having VTOLs, the regular airports that are around will not go away. Because even if VTOLs become standard, so to speak, I'm not saying that they will, but for the sake of argument, let's say they will, you'll still need a nearby airport just in case of, in an unlikely scenario, there's possibly a malfunction and it can't, a VTOL cannot properly land on top of a roof. So there needs to be a nearby landing strip, which may become available by law. What are your thoughts on a basic megabus for airlines or a VTOL airline? Let me know in the comments. There was another airline idea that I have, but I'm honestly towards the end of the Lincoln Tunnel. So basically what's going to happen is that, of course, you're going to see the outro momentarily, and then afterwards there will be one bus fanning video followed by my trip to Roosevelt Island. While I was on Roosevelt Island, I was able to catch a few buses and I was able to upload them to Instagram, but now you're going to be able to see them on YouTube. You're also going to hear my thoughts on how the system on Roosevelt Island is, the bus system I mean. And I don't know if this might be in the next video, but what you're also going to hear in a future video is my idea on a potential solution to help to eliminate a traffic congestion, or at least to minimize it. Either way, what are your thoughts on this video? Tell me in the comments, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, follow me on social media where I talk about similar topics.